WECB. This is EFR Emerson Film Radio. We're talking about Confidential Report.
By the great Orson Welles.
By the great, mysterious, elusive Orson Welles. Mr. Arcaden. What do we think about this? What's our actual opinion?
Yeah.
I didn't like it when I first saw it. Grant.
I liked it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So, yeah, I liked it. I think, I'm not sure, is this the first film he wrote?
What do you mean?
By himself? Because it said written
by Herman J. Mankiewicz.
Right, exactly. But whether it is or whether it isn't, I think he definitely comes through a lot in the writing, in just whatever the plot is, or just the writing itself. He comes through, because I've watched a lot of interviews with him, and I mean, obviously, if you can just watch one interview with him and you can get a feel for him.
Have you guys seen? There's a fantastic, it's not an interview, but it's a thing he's in. It's him, Orson Welles, and Peter O'Toole, and another guy who I don't remember, but he's like a Shakespeare scholar, and they're all talking about Hamlet and how they each played Hamlet, and it's the most classy, sophisticated, intellectual conversation. And they're all they're so brilliant, all of them as actors, and they're always like, I always find Hamlet's father to be the ghost is the most interesting. That's the hardest to play. And they're just like, because they're all classically trained, theatric, actors, and it's amazing. I recommend anyone to go out and look at it. Just look up Peter O'Toole, Orson Welles, Hamlet, something like that.
Few actors have that kind of presence that he has.
Yeah.
Or actor directors, where it's like, I feel like Orson Welles, when you walk on a set, it's just like...
He's a personality. And I think that personality comes through in the writing. I think you're absolutely right. I think that, you can sense his influence on it. Especially in those lines where he's making toasts and telling the stories and things like that. These very...
He's he's like a guy who's on the Dos Equis commercials or something.
Yeah, he's the most interesting man in the world. That's really, he's even kind of looks like that.
I think that character's based on Orson Welles.
It's possible.
Because Orson Welles did all those wine commercials for that famous outtakes where he's drunk.
Yeah.
No. What is that?
You haven't seen? Oh,
I've never seen
after
that.
This. It's Orson Welles was doing wine commercials for a while for Paul Bresson. So I forget the brand of the wine, but he would do the things, and he was he'd say this is the finest wine, the California coast, or something. He'd say something like that, and it would be Orson Welles. It'd be really cool. And there are outtakes of him drunk trying to say it, and he goes he's has his head down, and it's okay, action, Orson. And he goes, the French wine. There was a California champagne by Paul Masson. And so he's kind of just rambling
That
along.
kind of makes my day knowing that is out there.
And there's so many cuts, there's so many little things of it. And you gotta find it. It's great on YouTube.
There you go.
The man loved to drink. It's
yeah, he probably drank a lot. Obviously, he smoked a lot.
Did you ever hear the story about him and Ernest Hemingway?
I did. I actually saw there was an interview where he was talking about how didn't he get in fights with them?
Yeah, they were in a screening or something. It might have been. Well, I don't know if it was.
Oh, you're right.
Was it for the film adaptation of The Sun Also Rises?
I think it might have been.
And he was sitting on it, and he was saying, "Oh, they should cut this part." And he was sitting in the front row, Orson Welles, and he said we should cut this scene, and he heard a growl from the back of the room, and then he kept on talking, and this man came up. And he called him a dirty word, and they got into a brawl, but they couldn't see who each other were.
A brawl, a man's brawl,
a tussle,
a Donnybrook.
And they got into a fight, and the lights came on. They both looked at each other, and they realized it was it was Ernest Hemingway.
And then they laughed,
and they burst into laughter.
They guffawed the day away. Yeah, I think in that interview he also goes, it's Another thing no one realizes is that Ernest Hemingway was terribly funny. He was terribly hilarious.
He was riotously funny.
Yeah, he was riotously funny.
He had a riotous sense of humor.
Can you imagine sitting in on that?
Oh my god!
Wow. That was the Dick Cavett show, I think.
There's a lot of great stuff from like Dick Cavett's show. Like
he really does.
People.
Orson Welles in his older age really just looks like an amorphous frog king. Like he doesn't. He looks so strange because his eyes, I think, are immortal. Like they're the same age from. Yeah. I think he had the same eyes at birth that he had in death. Like it's just like these sharp, piercing eyes of just. Maybe it's his brow structure or something, but his eyes are penetrating.
He seems like the man that's like. He seems like to me like the man that's like done it all. Like he's done everything.
Right.
Like I think of like the War of the Worlds broadcast. Think of Citizen Kane. Think of like the shot in Touch of Evil, the opening shot, and then like
Citizen Kane,
something like F for Fake and all that stuff.
He plays a man of every age. He plays a very young 20-year-old, businessman. Then he plays this very old, decrepit, dying man.
Right.
And he plays them with equal,
expertise.
Yeah.
And in Mr. Arkadin, obviously there's that. Have you heard the story about how he went to Ireland?
No.
When he was 16.
Oh, yeah.
For a painting trip, he could either go to like college, or he could go on a journey through Ireland and just paint the landscapes.
Wow.
And he chose to go to Ireland. And so he just painted just throughout the day. And then he would like sleep under wagons at night for shelter. And then obviously he was 16 then. What, like 10 years later, he's making Citizen Kane?
Something like that.
Something like that. So that's like in Mr. Arkadin, when he's talking about, oh yeah, the last thing I remember is I got 200,000 Swedish francs in my pocket. Yeah. And now I'm at the top of the world. It's like.
It's kind of similar.
Yeah. That definitely is where it comes from.
I bet there's some autobiographical nature too.
Yeah.
You can't
not only
help
Citizen Kane, but also.
Mr. Arkadin.
To Mr. Arkadin.
I think so, yeah. And he's like, well, like. He's so, like, obviously revolutionary for, like, filmmaking in general. Like
he's not. What's strange is that he's just kind of a mogul. He's not really. He's a fantastic filmmaker,
right?
But his films are all pretty mainstream. Like Orson Welles, that's like a household name,
right?
But he did things that like were just as rebellious and no one had ever seen before as things that you see in like the French New Wave, like like the whole shooting ceilings, basing a movie off of a media mogul, like
that's funny because you say like French New Wave, because like the only other filmmaker I could think that has its same kind of like persona is like Godard.
Right, or Godard is terribly rebellious, and
it's just like the way like quotes by Godard are just like every edit is a lie. It's just like these weird.
Or like two people who have different film tastes cannot get married. The marriage won't work. Things like that. Yeah.
Tracking shots or a test of morality.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
like,
that's
what
intense.
are you talking about?
That is intense.
It's so funny. And it's like, Orson Welles is this big man, and he's like, it's so crazy.
I mean, so my kind of whole thing with the film was when we watched it, it was for me very boring, but it was amusing. I just found I don't explain. It's strange because I can't lie. I have to say, when I was watching this film, I was like, wow, how much is left in this? This is just a guy walking around, talking to people. Orson Welles is literally popping up like Batman out of nowhere. This is so strange. I don't know what character knows what about what and who's dead. But thinking back on it,
it's like a fun
it's like
time.
So fun mentally. Like thinking about that movie is great. But I guess it's just when the first initial like viewing of it, I just had very different expectations.
Yeah, I think you have to go into this movie with like some kind of like understand a little bit of how it got made and like what's the story behind it.
I think some context as to how this movie got made would have definitely.
Don't watch this and came and watch this and expect like something of equal stature.
That's like the only Orson Welles movie I had ever seen.
Right.
And I've seen it several times, and that's like...
You think of this...
So for me, that's like all I know.
Because Citizen Kane's like this disciplined, like, perfect movie. Mr. Arkadin's like this kind of messy, weird, like, chunky movie where it's like, he's trying like a lot of different things in it. And some of them
loved the cinematography.
Oh,
Even though it was less focused as Citizen Kane, and it was just kind of... It really may have just been Orson Welles saying, let's just place this camera on a pillow and whatever angle it gets, we're just going to shoot it out.
I was going to say, like, the scene where you're talking about where, like, he's pops up in Mexico and he's like 20 yards away and they're having a conversation while, like, the main characters are walking down these steps and they look so far away, but they're talking, like, so casually, like, they should be yelling at each other from the distance that they're at. It's just, like, so... to me, this movie, it's like almost like it's just like it's watching Orson Welles like have fun.
It is.
In terms of like it's
Orson Welles playing dress up, Orson Welles having fun, And you guys said this is the most Orson Welles movie.
Yeah,
ever made.
It's him. It's him throwing everything at the canvas, so to speak.
Yeah. So I guess we should really watch like Touch of Evil now.
I've seen some of Touch of Evil.
Yeah. Have you seen it, right, Grant?
No. I really want to see it though.
Maybe we'll talk about that in the future episode. But
and like The Stranger, like I've always wanted to see
The Third Man.
The Lady.
I haven't seen that one.
That's when he's in, but he didn't direct that one.
Oh,
that's Carol Reed.
Oh, okay.
I've tried to like watch that movie like so many times. I'm just falling asleep. Not because it's boring, but like the times I try to watch it, just like I don't know. I have a weird relationship with that movie. I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah. Well, final thoughts, Mr. Arkadin. Good film.
Watch Citizen Kane first.
Watch Citizen Kane
be your first Orson Welles movie.
And then completely disassociate the two mentally.
Yeah, and then watch F for Fake because that's really good too.
I have to watch that. Yeah. I would say don't go in expecting a thrilling, masterpiece like Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
But just focus on the personality of it and kind of the charm of it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really where this stuff comes through for me. It's an
interesting piece of history too, I think.
Yeah. So, any last thoughts?
No, that's all, I think.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back.
Well, since my baby left me, I found a new place to dwell. It's down at the end of Lonely Street at the Heartbreak Hotel. Yeah, it's always crowded, but you could still find some room where broken-hearted lovers do cry away their gloom. You make me so lonely, baby. I get so lonely I could die. You make me so lonely, baby. I get so lonely I could die. Yeah. Like this. Well, the bellhop's tears keep flowing.